Hi again, I'm back, and today I wanted to talk to you about a product that I use every day, and it has made a huge impact in my life. It's called DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide. That's what the DMSO stands for. And these are just two examples of the DMSO products I use. This one's great for travel because it's plastic and it has a pointed top. So when I use this for travel, I take this with a little colloidal silver. I do a smaller bottle, of course, and then I just bring a little shot glass with me so that I can mix it. But what I wanted to talk to you about was DMSO and how it's used. So let me give you the backstory. First of all, I used to get PET scans a lot. I don't get them anymore. And one of the reasons is because after one of these scans, I had an adverse reaction. I was getting them every 3 to 4 months, and it just seemed like I would have weird symptoms after the scan. So a PET scan is when they put an IV in and they inject you with what they call radioactive glucose. And then for most cancers, with really the exception of brain cancer, they're going to look to see where the cancer is in the body. And the reason that PET scans are not very reliable in the brain is because your brain primarily uses glucose as its fuel source. So if you inject radioactive glucose, granted, you're going to see a lot of activity up in the brain, and so it may not give you a very accurate reading. Usually they'll do an MRI or some other test. Anyway, I had my scan, and I had had breast cancer in the left breast, and it had spread to other areas in that region. And I had the scan, and prior to the scan, the area of my ribs was flat. Everything was feeling good. I was doing well. And then when I came home that night, this area on my chest, the rib looked like it was literally coming through my chest wall. It was so swollen and edematous and red. And I thought, this does not feel right. It hurt, it itched. And so I had read about DMSO before, and I thought, well, I have nothing to lose by trying. So what I did was I took a shot glass and I poured some DMSO in, and then I added some colloidal silver. And I mixed it in the shot glass, and I'll explain this a little bit, but there are different recipes and dosages. For me, it was just 2 parts to 1 part. So if I used 1 teaspoon of DMSO, I would use a half a teaspoon of colloidal silver. You don't have to use colloidal silver. You can use water, you can use something else. But the good thing about colloidal silver is that it's really got so many immune benefits. It's antifungal, antibiotic, antiviral, and so forth. So I mixed that with the DMSO and swirled it around. And then prior to applying it topically, I had to make sure my hands were very clean, because DMSO will pull whatever is on your fingers or whatever it touches, it will pull it internally. DMSO it has a remarkable quality of, getting through, it's water and fat soluble. So that's unique. And just to recap, what DMSO is, it's actually, I'm just going to read it to make sure I don't mess this up, but during the paper making process, the wood pulp is broken down into lignin and cellulose. And that's the part that gives trees their strength. It helps them prevent them from dying in frigid cold temperatures. And from the lignin part, that's what DMSO is extracted from. It's also clear, it's odorless at room temperature, and like I said, it dissolves in fat and water, which is a rare combination, allowing it to travel easily through skin and tissue. So when they studied this in the mid-1900s, they found that when you mix it with water, it prevents tissues and cells from freezing and crystallizing. And actually, DMSO was used early on in the organ transplant process because it prevented things from dying. It also helps to get to the root cause, and it helps with pain, swelling, inflammation. It's used for so many different things. Anyway, I applied it topically. I took some with my fingers, mixed it around, and then I applied it to the rib that was really swollen and painful, and I applied it. Now, when I first noticed was that it generated heat. Like, this got even redder and a little bit tingly, and it itched, and it felt like a burning sensation. So at first I thought, oh no, what have I done? But I read that sometimes happens. So I was like, okay, I'll leave it be. And I went to bed, and that night, it did its magic, because the next day, the redness, the swelling, the pain was completely gone, and the swollen rib, which looked like it was about to come through my skin, was completely flat. So I knew that there was something to this. So I began applying it, and then sometimes I'd mix it with Lugol's iodine, and I would also take it internally. There's something else I use, especially if I'm feeling under the weather or don't feel right. I use something called chlorine dioxide solution, which I'll talk about in another episode. But what I do is make the chlorine dioxide solution, and then I'd put a few drops in of the DMSO, and then that would pull like I said, DMSO pulls everything in internally into the cells, so it actually made CDS more potent. And I would take that as well, and I felt like it definitely made me heal quicker, and I didn't stay sick as long. I learned a lot more about DMSO by reading some textbooks. These are two really good books. I've read this one twice. Talks about how to use it, how to take it. You can take it internally, externally. It talks about very minimal side effects. They actually used it for football and a lot of sports. But there's no money in this, so again, you're not going to hear doctors talk about it much. But there's another doctor, he's called the Midwestern Doctor. He has a Substack and his own website, and he chooses to remain anonymous, and he has written a ton of information about this product and how it's used for so many different conditions. This book is great because it actually gives you the recipes and the treatment. So anything from hair loss, Parkinson's, gum disease, interstitial cystitis, irritable bowel, joint and muscle inflammation. Yes, even cancer is mentioned in here, sunburn, tendinitis. There's a lot of different uses, and he teaches you how to make these concoctions just using what I showed you at home, just getting the products and then applying them. I have found that the only issue I have with DMSO is sometimes if you take it internally, you feel like you have like a garlicky smell on you, and that's only, for me, I've only noticed that it only happens if I take it internally. I used to do that about 2 years ago. Now I take it just topically, and I only put it on the site where I might have some pain. So like, for instance, sometimes I'll have I've had right knee pain. If I put that on, the DMSO with the colloidal silver, I'll rub it in. I'll also sometimes add what's called Mountain Yew, Y-E-W, salve. You can get that from Montana. And in Montana, it's one of the only places where they sell it. And I rub that in to make it go even further. And then I've taken a red light band and put that on, and it has made a significant difference. So there's a lot of just little things you can do with these products. Again, this has there's some anti-cancer features. And my goal is to not tell you what to do or what to take or how to take it. It's just to give you information on what I use and what I have found to be very effective. Okay, and so one more thing. There is a company called the Herbal Manna Guide. Herbal Manna, it's a company where they actually mix this not just with colloidal silver, but they mix it with frankincense. And I've used that product as well as a gel, and they have a free printout that you can download. It's like 22 pages, and you can just read all about it, how to use it, the history, and many of the different ways people have found all types of relief. The man that started this company, he had over 22 orthopedic surgeries, and figured out when he started using it, it really changed his life. So the company was formed by, I think it was he and his son, and it was because of what they went through, and so now he's brought this to market. And it's called DMSO Unlocked. So if this helps you, I just encourage you to read through it. It may not be for you, but like I said, when you're dealing with cancer, it's nice to try all kinds of remedies and different products, and it might be something that actually helps you in another area that you weren't even counting on. Okay, bye.